We begin in a distant land where King Inglis lays on his deathbed surrounded by his subordinates who have dismal faces as they weep. He pleads with them not to be sad, because how can he rest peacefully if the last thing he sees are such faces? They rather plead with the king not to die yet because his people still need him. The monarch has surrendered to his fate and closes his eyes, leaving the rest to the next generation. Just before he takes his last breath, Inglis is visited by the goddess Alistia for the last time. She thanks him for all his hard work up until his death and praises him for the way he served the people. The king acknowledges that it was because of the blessings she bestowed on him all those years ago that made it possible for him to build the kingdom within his reign. He defeated numerous demons and evil gods and became to be known as the hero king because of his honorable heart. The goddess wants to reward him for his sacrifice and great achievements. The king thinks he's not worthy, but she feels differently and promises to grant him any wish to the best of her ability. Inglis thinks for a moment and wishes to be reborn again. His whole life has been dedicated solely to this country and its people. He has no regrets, but he wants to see how powerful he would be if he dedicated his whole life to mastering the blade. Alistia promised to grant his wish as the place starts to glow and the king's life finally ends. She looks forward to seeing him again reborn in the far future. The king wakes up reincarnated as a baby. The father Luke picks his child up to play with it, but the mother Serena worries that the child will get scared. In this new life, his name is also English to his confusion, but there is one major difference. He has been reincarnated as a female, which he confirms by looking in the mirror. The look of dread washes over the baby's face as she cries. Later on, English sleeps as Serena watches her before exiting the room. She wakes up and realizes that the body is too small to wield a sword like in her previous life, but her mind still has all the memories. Inglis confirms that the blessings from the goddess carried over. She can feel the presence of the ether within the body. In this world, ether is the origin of all things, so this energy permeates through everything. The ability to manipulate it is the same as being able to bend the world to one's will. It's the power of the deities. In her previous life, she only learned the basic use of ether, but in this body, she can even use it to float. But she's a bit worried that she can't feel the actual presence of the goddess. Her little display is interrupted when a guard sounds an alert that a magicite beast has appeared in the city, so everyone must take shelter in the castle. Her mother rushes into the room to evacuate her daughter, only to find her floating, but Inglis drops back into her court fast enough for her to doubt what she saw. The crying distracts her. Serena comforts the kid, assuring her that Luke and the others will dispatch of the magicite beast in no time. Inglis has a look of excitement after hearing the name of the creature that is attacked. She hopes that it is both incredibly vicious and worth defeating. All the while, her mother frantically runs with the baby in hand to the castle as ordered. Upon her arrival, she's greeted by her older sister who takes them inside where Raphael and Rafinha are. They look outside the window where English spots the magicite beast from a distance. There are 3 that have raided the city, and the color of their gemstones varies depending on the individual. Inglis wonders if that is where condensed mana is held, as she stares at the monster intensely. She's happy that the world has become dangerous, which is convenient for her. She cries, frustrated that she can't test her skills yet, but her mother thinks that she's scared of the magicite beast, as it is her first time seeing them. Raphael also expresses his frustration while watching the other knights fight because he has already received a rune. The runes are necessary to handle the weapons used to fight against magicite beasts. Every knight has it engraved on their bodies. Inglis notices that nothing of the sort existed in her previous life, as her mum's hand also glows. Raphael's mother alerts him that his rune is a special class. That means he is the chosen one, as it's only given to those who can support the hope of the people of the world. This means they can't afford to lose him there. She alerts him that if anything is to happen, he should abandon everyone and save himself. Ironically, one of the magicite beasts breaks into the room right on cue and knocks the big sister and her child to the ground. The roar of the beast freezes Raphael in fear. Serena gives the babies to him and orders him to escape while she distracts the monster. Raphael pleads with his auntie to stop because the sword she's wielding will not do any damage. She charges towards the beast. Inglis notes that her mum has decent swordsmanship as she clashes with it. Raphael decides to build a wall of furniture around the kids before proceeding to help his auntie fight the monster. He makes a good point, saying that if he can't save the people in front of him, how can he save others? Inglis is impressed with his conviction. The boy puts up a good fight, but one attack from the beast knocks them both down unconscious. As the monster approaches to finish them off, Inglis crawls out of the chair towards the creature and confronts it head-on. She starts to release her ether as she feels like it would be a shame for her cousin to die in this place, given his bravery. Although she has already decided to live this life for herself, she will help with the intention of not becoming a hero. The beast roars at her at point-blank range, but the baby doesn't flinch an inch, but instead gathers a concentration of ether and blasts it at the creature, which disintegrates it in one hit. A giant hole is left in the wall following the attack, but no one will know that she was the cause as the place is already messed up. Unbeknownst to her, Raphael hasn't lost full consciousness and witnessed everything that happened. He expresses his relief that they are safe before finally passing out. She watches on, hoping that when he wakes up, he'll think it was just a dream or an illusion. Shortly after, Inglis also starts to feel drowsy because she expended too much power for such a small body. She wakes up to her parents discussing the incident, and Raphael has been given the credit for saving them. Luckily, the city was not badly damaged during the raid either. Luke feels like they need to improve the city's defense in case such an attack happens again. Inglis overhears her father pointing out that a more powerful monster called Prismer also lurks around, and it is capable of destroying a whole country by itself. This gets the baby excited, and as she dozes off again, she promises to follow the footsteps of Hulk and smash Prismer down one day. A couple of years have passed since that incident, and Inglis is now 5 years old. She admires how cute she looks in the mirror and is sure that she'll grow up to be a beautiful woman in the future. Her aunt comes into the room and comments on how much she likes mirrors. The remark makes her a little shy. Serena adds that although she's intelligent and obedient, looking at herself in the mirror is her only problem. Rafinha, who is also 5 years old, calls to her. Inglis rushes over to them and apologizes to her auntie for having her witness such an embarrassing display. She is more impressed by how refined her speech is for her age, which makes Rafinha a little salty. The two girls go outside to participate in the training. While the knights work hard on their techniques, Rafinha struggles to hold the wooden sword and falls while trying to swing it. Inglis runs over to see if she's fine and tries to encourage her to carry on going like the rest of the knights. Meanwhile, a teenage Raphael is impressing with his swordsmanship. He's expected to be the next landlord as his talents are outstanding. The young master easily disarms his sparring partner. The only one in the knights who can beat him now is Captain Luke. Inglis watches on hoping to fight him one day. Their training is interrupted when Sir Rambach arrives with his merchants who will be joining them for some sparring. Inglis is confused as to why merchants would want to spar with knights, so Rafinha explains that they often get attacked by magitite beasts, so they sometimes spar with the knights to sharpen their skills. She expresses her jealousy at the fact they get attacked but quickly switches back to normal when she realizes what she said is a bit strange. The merchant presents his son Rahl to the captain. He politely introduces himself to everyone and even exchanges pleasantries with Raphael since they are around the same age. However, as soon as the sparring starts, he surprises them all when he beats 10 people in a row. The knights were winning at first, but the tide turned when Rahl joined. The merchant's son shows his true personality as he starts to arrogantly insult the knights for their slow movement. He makes his speculation that maybe they have gotten sluggish because the city has not been attacked by magicite beasts in some time. Sir Rambach agrees with his son, stating that they constantly encounter the monsters everywhere they go, so they have sharpened their skills through actual combat. Some of the knights notice that Rahl has a strange way of keeping his distance. However, Inglis picked up instantly exactly what he was doing to gain the advantage. It looks like Rahl is using magic. This is achieved by tapping into the sub-bond of ether mana. By manipulating it, one can use it to make certain supernatural phenomena. In this case, Rahl is using binding magic to restrict his opponent's movement in his field of vision. This slows down their movement, giving the illusion that he's better than he is. Inglis is surprised that no one has noticed this. She concludes that the people of this era have left behind their knowledge and sense of magic. During that interval, more knights fall to the blade of Rahl. He knocks the practice blade from someone's hand, and it comes flying towards Rafinha, who's unable to react. But Inglis comes in clutch and catches it with style before it hits her. Raphael rushes over to make sure that the girls are okay and thanks her for saving his younger sister. Rahl interrupts with his bragging about how weak they are. Raphael decides to defend the honor of the knights and steps up to fight the merchant's son. Rahl is happy that he gets to test his skills against a future holy knight and claims to want to have a fair fight, but Inglis gives him the "why are you lying" face. Before her big cousin steps into the arena, she advises him to avert his gaze from his opponent as much as possible. He finds the advice strange, but after an indirect explanation from her, he takes it on board. Raphael quickly gains the upper hand. As Rahl's magic is not having an impact on him because of Inglis's pointers, he lunges to land the final strike, but because he's looking down, he doesn't see the wall and runs into it. This gives Rahl the chance to end it with a blow to his back. The captain gives the W to the cheater. At this point, Inglis has had enough, so she steps up to avenge them all by politely asking Rawl to conclude the session by giving her some practice. But he looks down on her because she's a little girl and asks her to go play with dolls. She closes the distance between the two and threatens to expose his magic to everyone if he doesn't agree. Her father tries to dissuade her from going forward with it, but she blackmails him into allowing her to participate. The two square up to fight, and Rawl tries to use his magic on her, but she dispels it with ether. As soon as she takes a swordsmanship stance, they know she means business. The girl keeps her eyes closed as she easily deflects all of Rawl's attacks with such grace and mastery that even her dad is shocked. She puts an end to the master class with a dodge and strikes his back. The knights start to cheer in amazement at what they have just witnessed while Rawl stays on the ground defeated. Everyone later gathers for Inglis and Rafinha's baptism. The little girl places her hand in the box where she gets giddy by the warm and ticklish sensation. Her mother asks her to be quiet during the ritual. The baptism is a ritual to receive a rune to become a knight. These runes are classified into special, high, medium, and low classes. The stronger the rune one possesses, the stronger the artifact one can control. The priest requests that she remove her hand so that they can see the results, and she does so to reveal a high-class rune to her parents' joy. She rushes to her cousin excited by the outcome. Inglis comments on how she'll become a great knight. Inglis steps forward next to determine her fate. Before she goes up, Raphael voices his prediction that she will get a high or special class rune, but she doesn't want that. Her mother watches on worried as a flashback shows that before the ceremony, she confessed her hopes of Inglis getting a lower class rune because a special class would bind her to live and die for other people. The girl expressed the same sentiment as her mother, since in her previous life she served the people as king. Her mother was happy to hear that she does not want power that is going to dictate her life. Back to the present, she places her hand into the box and finally understands how it works. It is made to imprint the flow of mana into a rune. The people in this era lack the sense of manipulating mana because they have forgotten the technique of how to do it innately. The imprinted mana lets them infuse mana into an artifact and manipulate it. The priest instructs her to remove her hand, and to everyone's shock, she is runeless. Raphael believes that there is something wrong, but internally Inglis knows that that is the natural outcome. As a divine knight, she's not clad in mana but ether. It repelled the ability to imprint the flow of mana. Her father states that without a rune she can never be a knight. She apologizes to her father for disappointing him, but he's not angry at all. She alerts them that there are plenty of things she can do despite not having a rune, so she decides to support Rafinha to be a great knight as her squire, and her father is perfectly okay with that. Internally, she is happy with this arrangement, because it gives her the chance to hone her skills on the front lines without worrying about getting promoted. Years have passed since this incident. One night, prism flow falls over the kingdom. Although it does not affect humans, exposure to this rainbow-colored rain can transform plants and animals into magicite beasts that will attack humans. But among them, there is the powerful creature named Prismer, also known as the King of the Rainbow. It is the strongest magicite beast that can destroy a country by itself. An older Inglis complains to Rafinha because she has gotten into trouble for taking part in a magicite beast extermination. But the worst part is that there were only to fight weak monsters. She was expecting to engage a Prismer. Rafinha informs her that one hasn't shown up for 2 or 3 decades, but word has spread that one appeared in the neighboring country recently, which has gotten her excited. From their conversation, it is implied that Rafinha knows Inglis's secret. The following day, the rain has stopped, and the two overlook the area from atop the castle, where they spot the Highland floating. It is the home of those known as Highlanders, who are the producers of the artifacts and boxes used to determine the rune class, which allows the ground people to defend themselves from the beasts. In exchange, they gift them crops and materials in massive quantities. Inglis gazes upon it as it didn't exist in her previous life. She can't even find any records of the kingdom she ruled in the past. Rafinha explains that it is said that if one makes a wish when they see the Highland, it will get granted. Although it's a superstition, she makes Inglis join her. She wished for her big brother, who's a holy knight in the capital, to be healthy, while Inglis wishes to fight strong opponents. Later that night, the two get dressed for a fancy dinner where a royal inspector will be in attendance. They come every 2 to 3 years to check things, but this time he's accompanied by a Highlander. In their country, the royal family and noble classes still function as rulers, but Inglis suspects that the Highland wants to get rid of them and rule directly. When they enter the main hall, everyone admires them for their beauty, but Inglis is uncomfortable with the attention. Rafinha's father introduces them to Leon, who's one of Raphael's comrades from the Royal Knights. He comments on how Raphael goes on about his little sister and how it's a pleasure to finally meet her. The girls are impressed with his rank as he shows them his special class rune. The guy also informs them that Raphael was supposed to take this job on as a way for him to visit home, but he's too busy. They are also introduced to Lord Shione, the inspector, who is happy to meet them. The envoy from the Highland also appears, and to their shock, it is Rawl. Inglis is confused as to how he became a Highlander, because one has to be born into that class. He shows the mark as proof that he's truly one. Her nemesis explains that one can gain citizenship if one contributes to the Highland in a significant way. In other words, he bought it. Rawl reveals how he gave almost all of his business earnings to the Highland, and with the help from his connections, he achieved his goal. It is disclosed that a Highlander holds more power than any ground-dwelling noble, so it was completely worth it. Inglis is not interested, but Rawl notices how well she is developed. Leon sees that the tension is rising, so he interrupts by alerting the girls that he has someone he wants them to meet. All the Holy Knights have a trusty companion, which is the ultimate artifact called Enrollment, and every girl looks up to them. His plan works because they get excited to meet her, so they follow him as Rawl smirks at them. As they make their way to the meeting, Leon reveals that all the Highlanders believe that they are superior to the ground dwellers, because without them granting artifacts, the ground dwellers can't protect themselves from the beasts. Essentially, they control whether they live or die, so Leon advises them to just smile and nod when the girls are around them. He even admits that he's a total suck-up in their presence. Rafinha is a bit disappointed to hear that since the Holy Knights are supposed to be the symbol of hope for the people, and if they have been subjugated to this extent, then the people have no hope. Leon understands her sentiments and apologizes for the bad joke as it was in poor taste. She too apologizes for her overreaction and speaking out of turn. He compliments her strong heart just like her brothers. At this point, they are in the garden. He draws their attention to the Hierolmenas, who can transform into artifacts usable by those with special class runes. They are also known to be the only ones who can fight the prisoner. Leon comments on Eris's gloomy look and suggests she come inside to have fun, but she gives him the cold shoulder as she requests he leaves her alone. The look of shock is stamped in her eyes when he reveals that Raphael's younger sister and cousin want to meet her. Rafinha's introduction is cut short when a slap from Eris rocks Leon's face. She berates him for bringing them over, but apologizes to the girls before leaving. They feel like they have offended her, but Leon rubs his face as he assures them that they have done nothing wrong. He changes the topic by offering to tell them what Raphael has been up to. A sudden scream from the ball hall interrupts them, so they rush inside to meet a burnt person. Rafinha's father tells them that person on the floor is Lord Shione. Rawl slew him for his insolence. A female guard sits on the floor disturbed as she blames herself for what just happened. She explains that Rawl ordered her to visit his chamber later on in the night, but she was reluctant. Shione stepped in between them, and the merchant turned him into a locked character with his fire magic. Only Inglis was able to recognize the fact and suspects that it was probably given to him by the Highlanders. Rawl orders them to hide the truth by telling everybody that the royal inspector got sick and died suddenly. Given his status, people will just have to accept his story. Leon acknowledges this as even the king of the country can't say a word against the Highlanders. Rawl threatens Rafinha by alerting her that if she wants to make a fuss about what just happened, then he will tell the king that she assassinated the royal. Rawl commands the Duke to make the knight fulfill his wish. Inglis confronts the new Highlander about his sick display of power and how disgusted she is to have witnessed it. She puts herself forward knowing that he will come after her anyway since he hates her. She makes him promise that he will leave Rafinha and the female knight. He informs her to come to his mansion where he's staying later. After the ball, she proceeds to the mansion, hoping that Rawl has gotten stronger since the last time they fought. She's interrupted by Eris, who advises her to run away. She feels obligated to help because she's Raphael's cousin. Inglis appreciates the concern, but with how unpredictable Rawl is, no one knows what he'd do if she doesn't go. Eris promises to handle the aftermath to the best of her ability, but Inglis is not convinced. Eris tries to intimidate her by drawing her sword and threatening to attack if she takes another step. The Hierolmenas is surprised to see her laughing with excitement as Inglis thanks her for giving her this opportunity. This is the perfect chance to test her current skill. Eris is confused because she didn't expect her to accept the challenge, but she rushes her intending to scare her off. Inglis easily catches her attack and throws her. The Hierolmenas continues to attack, but she blocks with a smile on her face because she likes to fight strong people. Eris is shocked that she can handle her attack without a rune or artifact. She gets serious for a moment and breaks Inglis's sword. The Hierolmenas swings and it grazes her, but she just loves the thrill of the battle. Eris stops to find out if she's okay, but Inglis is more interested to know if she can sense mana. Once confirmed, She decides to show her that she can convert the ether that surrounds her body into mana. Eris is shocked because runeless people shouldn't be able to use mana. Seeing her power, the Highland acknowledges that she didn't need her help, so she decides to let her go. This annoys Inglis because she wanted to fight her, so she pleads for them to carry on. Their interaction is suddenly interrupted when Eris is blown away by an electric attack from Leon. The Holy Knight steps forward to Inglis's confusion. Things continue with Eris trying to confirm if Leon means to betray them while recovering from his sudden attack. He entertains the question by confirming their suspicions. Inglis wonders if he's planning to stop them from hurting Ral as a way to win the Highlanders' favor, but he dismisses that idea, reminding them he is a holy knight, so he's ready to sacrifice his life for the people of their nation. He points out the unjust assassination of the royal inspector that Ral performed at the ball, which had 0 consequences. The Highlanders have the highest authority when they descend to the surface. Leon feels like a holy knight must protect the people, but unfortunately, all they can do is stand by and watch their oppressors commit these heinous crimes. Eris points out that without the Highlands' help, the surface dwellers can't protect themselves from the magicite beasts, so they just have to accept the reality of the situation. Leon doesn't like the idea of either the Highlanders or the beasts hurting innocent people, so he has decided to join Bloodchain Brigade. Eris explains that they are an anti-Highland guerrilla organization that has caused the Highlanders to destroy entire towns as punishment for their activities, so the Holy Knights and other authorities see them as a group who only spread chaos. Leon reveals that the real goal of the Bloodchain Brigade is to drag the Highland down to earth and steal their technology so that they spread it among the people living on the surface. This will keep everyone safe from the magicite beasts without the need of their oppressors. Ral's actions at the ball have pushed him to the brigade. Eris tries to dissuade him as they are not likely to win. He acknowledges that fact, which is why he wants to bring Eris with him. With her powers as a Highland, which are the ultimate artifacts, the rebels can conduct some research on her, which could lead to a way for them to make artifacts without the Highlanders' help. Eris rejects the offer as she prepares to fight. He tries to recruit Inglis, but she too declines the offer, but not because she wants to keep things as they are, but because if she refuses to join Leon, she might get a chance to fight him. The two look at her like battle-hungry manic. Inglis understands the points that Leon is making, but she has stopped connecting power with justice, as she has already lived a lifetime doing that. The girl takes her stance, ready to fend off the Holy Knight. Leon admits that she's strong, which he's basing on what he witnessed in her last fight, so even though she's a kid, he has no intention of going easy on her. He charges up his gauntlet with electricity and clashes his fists together, which creates lightning beasts that he commands. Eris warns Inglis to be wary of the high-rank artifact, but by this point, she has already analyzed their number and how best to tackle them. Leon orders 2 of his beasts to follow him while allowing the rest to engage Inglis. She looks over and notices that Eris is injured and figures out the Holy Knight's plan to stall her, which would allow him to whisk the Highland away. The beasts dash at her, so she prepares to punch them, but a ranged attack from Eris destroys his attack before she directly attacks the beasts. She alerts Inglis that if the lightning creatures are hit with a strong attack, they'll explode, so she should be careful. Leon gets the Highland's attention back to him when he decides to get close and personal with his assault. Inglis notices that she's struggling and wants to rush to help her, so she begins to clad herself with a high-concentration ether before directly attacking one of the lightning beasts. This causes a huge explosion that astounds the other 2. They watch on, expecting her to have sustained a lot of damage, but as the dust settles, she stands there unscathed. Inglis alerts Eris as she fights her way through them that she figured out that if one can't dodge the explosion at close range, then one just needs to boost their defense to the point that explosions don't hurt. An annoyed Eris tells her that she was advising her to attack from a distance. Inglis explains that the blasts are absorbed by her ether shell. With all of them destroyed, she joins Eris to face Leon. The Holy Knight acknowledges her strength, even putting her on the same level as a Prismer. These are the strongest magicite beasts known to man. However, he notices that she can't use the ether shell for long. She admires his sharpness, and even comments that in her previous life, he would have been one of her most trusted men. Leon prepares to activate his power, but she intercepts him, so he tries to increase the distance between them to give him time to unleash his beasts. However, Inglis quickly catches up and stops him again. She even manages to land a devastating kick to his gut. Simultaneously, Rafinha suddenly jumps through the mansion, screaming to Inglis's confusion. Shortly after, she's followed by a huge magicite beast that reaches out to crush her. Inglis quickly dashes over to save her. Even though she has promised not to be the hero in this life, Rafinha is someone she has promised to always protect. She makes it just in time and pushes the magicite creature with a punch. Rafinha is thankful for the save, but Inglis is more interested to know what she's doing around. She explains that she came to support her in facing Rawl. However, when she entered the mansion, he suddenly started screaming in pain before turning into the beast behind them. Inglis is surprised by that revelation, but it is confirmed when the beast starts to call her name. But she wonders how he turned into that because there has never been a case of humans becoming magicite creatures. Leon interrupts and comes clean that he drugged him with a substance called prism powder. It is a drug made from condensed primflow. It was created and given to him by the Bloodchain Brigade. It is harmless to surface people, but if used on a Highlander, it turns them into what they see in front of them. He also alerts them that there is no way to cure him. Leon decides to make a strategic retreat for now, since the ladies are going to have their hands full. Even though she dislikes Rawl, it is sad to see him in such a condition, so she decides to end it in a single strike. However, if she was to use that attack, it would not only erase the mansion, but also a large chunk of the city too. Inglis evades the monster's attack and springboards off it to get a better view of the area and spots a solution. Just as she lands, her uncle and Rafinia's dad arrive at the scene with his men. The knights prepare to engage the beast, but Inglis pleads for them to hold on because Eris is going to help. She grabs her by the hand and drags Hyrule towards Rawl, where they perform a powerful kick that sends the monster flying out of the city walls. Everyone is amazed by the feat they just performed. Inglis tries to give Eris all the credit. With the monster now in no man's land, the ladies make their way to the outer wall to face it. Rafinia informs Eris that Inglis doesn't want people to know her true strength despite her being runeless, or it would cause chaos. But in reality, she just doesn't want to be given more responsibility. Their conversation is interrupted when the monster starts to move again. Before she confronts it, Eris confirms that the beast before them is not as strong as a Prismer. She compares the difference in strength to an adult and a child. Inglis drops down and blasts Monster Rawl with her ether strike. The huge energy wave incinerates the target and everything behind him for a far distance. Eris watches on amazed, but the girl falls to the floor exhausted. But she enjoyed that fight. In the aftermath, Eris informs everyone of Leon's betrayal and promises the girls that she will make sure that no one blames them. Inglis pleads with her to take the credit for defeating the Magicite beast too. She agrees, but wants the debt repaid someday, to which Inglis accepts. Before Eris leaves, the cousins want to know why she was so upset the first time they met. She prefers not to let them know, but she's sure they will find out someday. Some years have passed since that incident, and now 15-year-old Inglis and Rafinia practice together. It is also an important milestone, as both of them are setting out to the capital where they will enroll in the Knights Academy. The parents gather at the city gates to say their goodbyes to their daughters. Rafinia's father pulls Inglis to the side to plead with her to keep the boys away from his daughter. Rafinia is going there to train to be a knight, and Inglis to be her squire. The parents cry as they set off on their month-long journey to the capital. They stop in the town of Nova for some food, and as they eat, it is drawn to their attention that the ruler of the town is a Highlander. The restaurant owner explains that the new ruler took over within the last year, and she confirms that they have not done anything terrible. She rather believes that life has gotten better since their arrival, and all the townspeople are happy. The girls are enjoying their journey so far, but have noticed that they are eating too much. Inglis points out that they might have to cut back a little, or they will run out of money before they reach their destination. But Rafinia is surprised because they have only been on the road for 10 days. The owner suggests that they should go and help at the castle to make some extra money. The ruler is hiring knights and mercenaries to help with some magicite beast attacks, and the girls look like knights. The girls make their way to the castle and easily pass the hiring exam. That evening, they decide to get a relaxing bath before the mission starts. But Inglis has noticed that the flow of mana is strange in the castle, and it seems like small amounts of mana is being drained away from beneath everyone's feet. Rafinia interrupts her thoughts by offering to wash her back, shortly after they are joined by the ruler. The Highlander introduces herself as Salen. They apologize, thinking that they are using the bath of the ruler, but she assures them that everything is okay. She heard of Rafinia's greater rune and wanted to meet her. Some little kids join them wanting to wash with the ruler. As they play, Salen reveals that they are orphans she adopted because she couldn't leave them on the streets. This impresses the girls as they praise her. Inglis points out the strange flow of mana in the city, but the ruler is oblivious to what she's talking about. Internally, Inglis hopes that she gets to fight whoever is capable of doing such a thing. Salen is interested to know how long they intend to stay. Rafinia is quick to inform her of their journey to the capital to enroll in the Knights Academy. The ruler asks for their help in dealing with a matter, and the girls are happy to help. She warns them they might have to fight people and not magicite beasts. They later set off as a unit as they proceed. Salen explains that the knights who served under the older ruler were a wicked bunch. So she fired them when she became the ruler, because their violence toward the townspeople became a problem. Salen suspects that they are planning something based on their movements. Even her scouts have been attacked by them. The ruler's party reach the rebel knights' hideout, but they are soon surrounded by them. The ex-knight commander Hawker comes out to welcome them. Rafinha tries to end the fight with her greater artifact, but her attack is blocked by Sistia. Inglis immediately knows she's a Highland just from looking at her, and smiles excitedly as she waits to engage her. Inglis is excited to face Sistia knowing she's a Highland. Ex-commander Hawker orders his men to attack, so they rush to their targets. She effortlessly dodges the fodder's strikes and disenables them with single blows as she proceeds towards Sistia. Inglis notices that the Highland is moving to Rafinha, so she stands in between them and pleads with Rafinha to protect Salen and the others. She puts forward an official challenge to Sistia, but she dismisses it as some kind of joke. The Highland thinks that Inglis is a weak girl who stands no chance. The young squire lets out a polite smile as she releases her ether and begins to convert it to mana. Sistia is shocked by the amount of mana. Even Salen, the Highland ruler of the town, can't believe her mana output and potency. Concurrently, Rafinha is doing a good job as she fires arrows that rain down, incapacitating the majority of the rebels. After sensing Inglis's mana, Sistia starts to take her more seriously as the girl pleads with her not to hold back. She is happy to oblige since she too has been getting bored because of the lack of good foes to fight. Inglis' eyes sparkle with excitement watching her aggression. The Highland orders her to draw her sword, but she alerts her that it wouldn't be necessary. The last time she fought someone of her level, her sword failed her because it was generic with no special attributes. Sistia is surprised and tests her with a lightning-fast thrust attack with her spear, but she dodges it with ease. The redhead is impressed because an ordinary knight would have perished before they could even react to what was coming. She continues to waffle on while she launches some quick stabs, but the girl evades them with little effort and even begins to close the distance between them. Sistia notices and begins to step back while attacking, but she's not aware of her surrounding and is backed into a wall. Inglis stops the attack and knocks her through the wall with a powerful punch. The Highland has taken some heavy damage as she struggles to get up. Inglis is impressed that she stood up after such a hit. She's happy to see that her desire to fight hasn't dulled in the slightest. Sistia is shocked by the amount of power the girl holds and wonders why she serves a Highlander. She alerts her that they are trying to steal the surface land away and berates her for actively helping them. Sistia hints that what Inglis sees is only superficial, which triggers her to remember that the flow of mana in the town is strange. The Highland advises her to look further into it as it will reveal everything. But Inglis is not there to play hero. She is just here to earn money that will help restore their overeating expenditure. She is happy that all of this has given her the chance to fight a strong opponent. Sistia asks her, saying, "What is the use of having power without justice?" But from Inglis's perspective, without the responsibility of being a hero, she gets to have fun. Her answer annoys the Highland who refuses to let someone with her mentality have such strength, so she unleashes her power, which allows her to create portals to land attacks from a distance. The first strike takes Inglis by surprise, which causes her to get grazed a bit, even though she manages to dodge the fatal blow. She immediately assesses that Sistia's ability allows her to ignore space and distances. This just makes things more interesting for her. She begins to attack using this powerful ability, but Inglis keeps dodging and times a perfect grab that allows her to stop the spear. However, that doesn't prevent Sistia as she lands a kick using her power. This shocks Inglis because she assumed it was only the spear that could pass through the portals. Inglis stumbles as she lets go of the spear and smiles at how versatile Sistia's ability is. The Highland tries to end things with a final spear thrust, but Inglis screams as she activates her ether, which blocks the attack and counters with a swift knee to Sistia's gut, which ends the battle. The girl thanks her for a good fight, as it was more fun than she expected. The Highland falls to the floor, wondering how she's going to face her bosses with this loss. An opportunity presents itself when Rafinha comes to alert Inglis that she has dealt with the enemies outside. Sistia throws her hand through a portal and seizes her by the neck and alerts Inglis she can't afford to allow herself to get captured. Sistia orders the girl to let her go in exchange for Rafinha's life. Inglis quickly agrees and gives the signal for her to go, but before she leaves, Inglis warns her to never go near Rafinha again if she values her own life. They both exchange names before the Highland leaves. Inglis then rushes over to make sure her childhood friend is okay. As she gets her breath back, she apologizes for interrupting their fight. The fight outside is over, Salen is safe, and the night rebels have all been apprehended. Their mission was a success. The following day, the ruler of the town summons them and formally thanks them for the help. Because of their expert work, none of the town's knights were injured. The captured knights will be retrained and educated and assimilated back into the town because they were once loyal servants of the city. As they discuss, the servant prepares tea for them to take. Salen notices that it tastes unusual. The servant alerts her that she put a few herbs to help refresh them after yesterday's ordeal. With their performance and dedication they displayed in the last mission, Selen wants to talk to them about something and leads them down to a space at the lower levels of the castle. She alerts them that only a select few know of this place. They arrive at a giant magic circle, and Inglis notices that it is draining away mana. The Highlander explains that it is the core of the Highland called a levitation circle. It absorbs mana from its surroundings, and when it has enough it breaks the land around it away from the earth and brings it to the sky. This town has been chosen to become a new Highland. Everything that Sistia was saying about them stealing the land was literal. Rafinha wants to know what will happen to the people that live in the current town. She explains that the Highlanders will either enslave them or ask them to leave. Salen is planning on asking the higher-ups to let those who wish to stay become Highlanders. She is willing to fight the Highland to make that a reality, which is why she has brought them there. The ruler wants them to fight by her side when the time comes, or if they want, they can cut her down where she stands, because she's keeping the potential destruction of the city a secret from the residents. Inglis alerts Rafinha that this is a decision that she has to make, and she will support it regardless. After all, she's going to be her squire. Rafinha decides to answer Salen's call for help when it comes. She promises to work hard and become an excellent knight so that they can be of help, so the two ladies seal things with a hug. That night, Salen stumbles out barefooted and stares at the moon, which causes something to trigger inside of her. A bright flash of light shoots up, and moments later, a loud sound rips through the city. The knights spring into action, and the two girls join them soon after. They meet a giant magicite beast and immediately recognize it as Selen when they see the tattoo on her forehead. From their experience 3 years ago, they remember that a Highlander turned into a magicite beast because of prism powder produced by the rebel group known as the Bloodchain Brigade. The substance is harmless to those that live on the surface, but it turns Highlanders into monsters when ingested. Just as they wonder when she could have taken it, a mad laugh can be heard from the rooftop. The lady that served them the tea put it inside. It is revealed that she is a member of the Bloodchain Brigade and hates the Highland because they ended her son. The magicite beast puts an end to her with a powerful laser shot. It then sprays the rest of the place with a few more, causing explosions around the city. A knight orders everyone to split up, but Inglis tells them to hold on and focus on evacuating the people in the castle while the two girls deal with the magicite beast. Rafinha is to block Cillian before she fires her beams. Inglis begins her assault by doing a Naruto run towards the beast while charging her ether. Just as the monster prepares to fire a beam, Rafinha stops her with a volley of arrows. Cillian recovers and still tries to fire, but Inglis leaps up and lands a devastating kick to her face. But this beast must get its shot fired and unleashes it. The girl counters with a punch that deflects it. Suddenly an attack pierces the shoulder of the monster. Sistia appears and tries to finish it off, but Inglis prevents her and confirms that the Hyro Menace is part of the Bloodchain Brigade. Inglis blames herself for the current situation because she didn't defeat Sistia earlier. She thinks that it was her that gave the servant the prism powder. But a masked, nameless man claiming to be the leader of the Bloodchain Brigade interrupts to alert her that it's not true. All members carry prism powder. The servant already had it. Inglis is a little surprised by his presence because she didn't sense him in the slightest. He confirmed that it was them that organized the banished knights to attack Cillian, but since that failed, the servant took this action on her own. The leader's goal is to protect the land and its people. They will eliminate the Highlander, but Inglis objects to this. All the while, the magicite beast moves closer to the castle, and Rafinha needs backup to stop her. Sistia moves to attack, but the girl gets in the way and throws a punch coated in ether. The leader appears out of nowhere and blocks the punch. This surprises her because she didn't think anyone could take a clean hit from that level of attack, and is happy with this revelation as it means there is more to see out there in the world. Inglis orders them to step aside and begins to attack, but he refuses to do so. The leader blocks all her rapid punches with ease. She would love to have a long fight with him, but she must stop Sistia from ending Salen, which she is preparing to do. Luckily, a well-placed arrow from Rafinha stops her in her tracks. They are also interrupted when some orphans begin to call to Salen. She charges up an attack, but then stops and turns the beams towards herself, not wanting to hurt the kids. Inglis deflects the beam by shooting her hand. Sistia berates her, stating that she should have allowed her to send herself away, but the girl believes Salen is still in there and strikes a deal with the leader. If her plan to save her doesn't work, they can do whatever they want to her. He also adds that the girls must leave the city regardless of the outcome. He orders Sistia to distract the magicite beast. This gives Inglis the time to gather enough ether to convert into mana. She uses it to cast the giant ice spell which freezes Salen in place. But she is still too big to move to a safe location, so the leader surprises Inglis and uses ether to shrink her down to pocket size. The girl suspects that he's a divine knight too. With the task complete, the leader intends to destroy the magic circle to prevent the land from being taken. The following day, the girls say their goodbyes to the orphans before leaving the city to carry on their journey to the capital. While on the road, the mini magicite beast thaws to reveal a cute, docile version of what they faced the previous night. The girls keep it with the hope to restore Celian to normal, but in the meantime they call it Lynn as a variation of the original's name. The story continues as the girls arrive at the coastal city of Alamein. They immediately find themselves at the region's cathedral, where a prisoner lays dormant. Inglis stares at it with excitement as she comments about how powerful it looks. Rafinha states that it has been defeated, but since no one was able to move it away, they built the cathedral to keep careful watch. Inglis wonders if it would still be alive if it thaws out. Rafinha warns her not to say that, because they could get arrested if someone was to hear such talk. Even though it's frozen, she can still feel its power emanating and thinks it's still alive. That talk still gets Rafinha scared. Suddenly, a knight shouts to get their attention, warning them that there are magicite beasts loose in the city. He advises them to stay put till they are taken care of. This rather gets Inglis animated as she jumps off the platform and runs off to go clash with them. She quickly makes her way into the city and is not surprised by the number of knights around since the city was founded to keep watch over the prisoner carcass. Inglis finally reaches a clearing where all the action is taking place. She looks over as many knights cut through the various types of beasts that have attacked the city. The girl is in awe at the sights she's seeing. Her attention is taken when a flying magicite closes in to ambush her. As she prepares to counter with a punch, Leon rushes in front and slices the monster before it can attack. The newcomer begins to reprimand Inglis for her carelessness in trying to fight a magicite beast without a rune or artifact. Inglis is more interested in her good movement and identity. She notices that she has a high-class rune too. But before she can answer, Leon interrupts and extends her blade, which she uses to cut some giant rodents in one hit. Another flying beast fires a magic shot, but she turns her blade into a shield which absorbs it and uses the energy to counter, but it dodges. Inglis returns the favor and dashes past Leon before launching off her blade. She knocks the bird down, allowing the newcomer to cut it down without any resistance. While still in the air, she brings down more monsters for her to take down. Leon is also impressed with Inglis's skill and apologizes for assuming she didn't know how to handle herself. They introduce themselves and Inglis recognizes her last name from somewhere. They ally as they beat down more of the magicite beasts. Rafinha finally catches up just in time as she unleashes a few arrows on a monster that was about to ambush Leon. By this point, the other knights have also finished defeating their beasts. Inglis introduces her to their new ally, and Leon recognizes her last name and asks if she's Raphael's sister. Rafinha is surprised that she knows her big brother. With a conserved look, she alerts them that she owes him a lot. One of the knights interrupts to thank them for helping defend the city and offers to give them some rewards as a show of gratitude. This gets Rafinha excited, but he puts a damper on her joy when he tells them that the reward is only for her and Inglis. He turns to Leon and comments that they don't have anything for the relatives of traitors. Rafinha tries to argue that she was also an integral part of them to win the fight. Leon alerts them that it's okay and they should go ahead without her, but the girls are not happy about that. The knight explains that she's the little sister of the traitor Leon Olfa, the holy knight who came from their city in the past. Inglis and Rafinha remember that incident which led to some deaths, but they don't recall Leon being at fault 100%. The knight advises them to stay away from her and asks them to come to collect their reward. Rafinha cuts him off and rejects it if they are going to discriminate. Their attention is drawn to the sky when Raphael arrives at the scene on a flying device. After hearing the situation, he berates the knight for being harsh to Leon. Rafinha can't contain her excitement as she rushes over to her brother to hug him. He's surprised to see them after so long. He introduces Ripple, who is one of the kingdom's Hieromenas, and Inglis gets excited as she wonders how powerful she is. To celebrate their reunion, he suggests they have a meal. He even invites Leon to join them. While they eat, the girls tell their stories about some of the incidents they have been involved in while traveling. Ripple is just impressed by how much they can all eat. The conversation turns to Leon and her brother. The girls alert her that they were there during the incident and let her know that his action was because he wanted to save the kingdom, which makes her feel a little better. But she wants to become a knight so that she can arrest her brother for his treason. It is revealed that Leon is not a knight yet, and she too will be enrolling at the academy. This gets the girls excited because they get to go to school together, and it makes Leone happy that she will have some close friends off the bat. Their discussion moves to the sudden appearance of magic height beasts inside the city. It is pretty strange that they managed to get into the stronghold with security so tight. No prism flow has fallen recently that would change the animals in the area to magic height beasts. Raphael explains that they don't need to worry about that. The following day, they attach some pins and ropes to the frozen prismer and allow a squadron of flygears to lift it from the cathedral. Raphael explains that the frozen prismer was attracting magic height beasts to the city. Therefore, they are moving it away to prevent the incident from repeating. Rafinha is amazed at the sight of the flygears taking the legendary beast away because she didn't know they were capable of such a feat. All the while, Inglis is pulled to one side by Ripple, who has already heard about her crazy exploits from Eris, but she assures her that her secret is safe with her. The Hyrule Menace asks Inglis if she thinks she could win against the prisoner. She confidently says that she doesn't lose fights. Ripple reveals that no one defeated the prisoner. She witnessed it sealing itself in that ice decades ago. It shocks Inglis at first, but she remembers that Hyrule have long lives. Ripple discloses that she's quite an old lady. They are only calling it a carcass to put the general population at ease. The fact that it gave birth to magic-height beasts must be a sign that it's trying to wake up. If that's the case, it would be better to move it to a remote border area. With the magicite beasts that are born, they can also be used as a fortification against enemy invasions. This annoys Inglis because that means the magicite beasts and enemies would crush each other, meaning less fighting for her. But she looks at the prisoner's new home and is happy that it is in a good location, which allows them to fight it without any restrictions. She makes Ripple Pinky promise to call her when the day the prisoner wakes up. Raphael informs everyone that he and the Hyrule Menace must part ways with them because they must leave the airlift operation. He permits them to ride the flygear port since it will be going back to the capital. As the prisoner leaves, Inglis watches, hoping that it will wake up soon so that they can have an all-out fight. After a short journey, the girls arrive at the capital, and not long after, the day of their enrollment comes around. They sit in the assembly hall with a smile on their faces as Prince Wayne welcomes them to the academy. He explains the importance of their selection as knights and protectors of their country and hopes that they can all understand their responsibility and learn hard. After the assembly, the first years are brought out by Principal Miriella, who seems very chilled. Inglis asks Rafinha to take a closer look at her, and she has a special class rune which is the same as her big brother's. Only holy knights have this level of rune, meaning she has the potential to become one. The girls overhear a student making mean comments about Leone calling her dangerous because of her brother. Rafinha prepares to confront the students, but Inglis stops her, telling her not to cause a scene when the principal is talking. Miriella suggests they skip the formalities and get right down to the orientation. With her soft voice, she tries to hype them up, but it just comes across a bit flat. The students only begin to react when she claps her hand, causing a platform to erupt from beneath their feet. The night course prohibits the use of their artifacts, so all the students must confirm that they left them behind. Once she hears this, the principal thrusts the staff into the air, causing light to emanate from its tip. After a short moment, the pressure on the platform increases, bringing the majority of the students to their knees. Miriella informs them that the gravity field was created by her artifact and tells them they will be conducting combat training in these conditions. She doesn't want to see her students fall on the battlefield, so she's going to get them into tip-top shape so that they can win every battle. I think she has been watching too many Goku training montages. While the other students struggle, Inglis is loving the added challenge and finds the academy interesting. Leone complains about how difficult it's going to be without their artifacts, but sees that it'll be good training. Miriella then summons some earth golems and explains that this exercise is a game of tag. Anyone who can stand on the platform after 10 minutes will get free meals in the cafeteria for a month. This gets the girls excited because of their love for food. As soon as the principal signals for them to start, Inglis knocks the golems out immediately. The other students realize that with the threats knocked out, they are all safe. This means they will get free meals for a month. They all start to jubilate when they hear that news. The principal acknowledges that fact and tries to save herself, alerting them that it was only a demonstration. But Inglis doesn't think it's fair. She apologizes and tells them to give it one more try, but the result is still the same. She says the same thing, but before she starts the third round, Miriella makes her way over to Inglis in private and tries to bribe her with free meals for 3 months. In exchange, she's to leave the golems on the platform. However, Inglis wants 3 of the 3-month passes, and the principal agrees. With the deal struck, she starts the trial for real, and this time many of the students get eliminated. With 90 seconds left, only a few students remain. Pullum gets scared when one of the golems charges toward them, so she pushes Lottie towards it, which he scolds her for. Meanwhile, Lieselot also refuses to give up as she dodges some of the golem's attacks. With only 60 seconds left, Mariella increases the gravity, which proves too much for the rest of the students who get knocked out apart from Inglis. She ends it by knocking all the golems out as she thinks about all the free food. The other students comment on her strength and beauty. The principal is impressed with her display and finds her fascinating, so wants to know more about her. Later that night, the girls walk away from dinner happy because they had an all-you-can-eat for free because of Inglis's deal. Some commotion in the corridor catches their attention, so they go to check it out. The girls arrive at the scene to meet Lieselot complaining to the principal about not wanting to share a room with Leon because her brother is a traitor. Mariella doesn't want any long talk, so she asks if anyone would want to switch rooms. Rafinha volunteers and admonishes everyone for the way they treat Leone. With the three of them now roommates, Leone cries happy, knowing that her friends have her back. We continue with the students taking breakfast in the cafeteria. The girls sit at a table enjoying their 3-month all-you-can-eat pass. The two cousins are taking advantage of their opportunity more than their new friend as they eat the entire breakfast menu. The girls decide to go for another round from the set A menu as all the students watch on in awe of their eating ability. Meanwhile, Lottie rushes into the cafeteria complaining about how he overslept. He is shortly joined by Pullum, who scolds him because she too overslept due to his negligence. Their argument comes to an end when he notices the pile of dishes on the girls' table. He's shocked that they can eat so much. Leone doesn't want the big eater stigma, so she informs him that she only ate one portion. On the other hand, Inglis and Rafinha are proud, and even state that eating like this is normal for them, as they believe that the day starts with breakfast. She explains that they need to make sure they have energy for the rest of the day, but Lottie can't accept the explanation because the duo has eaten 3 days' worth of food just for breakfast. He forgets about their abnormal consumption and comments on how amazing Inglis was the previous day when she defeated 3 golems by herself. Pullum knocks into the back of Lottie, which prompts him to introduce himself, and reveals that he's on the Squire course while his partner is on the Knight course. Pullum shows off her high-level rune. Rafinha and Leon introduce themselves as students of the Knight course, while displaying their high-level runes too. Inglis tells their new acquaintances that she is on the Squire course. The other students overhear their introduction and begin whispering among themselves. Lottie is confused as to why they are the center of attention. Leone points out that it's likely because of her, since her older brother was a royal knight that betrayed the kingdom. Lottie and Pullum make it know that they are exchange students from a different kingdom, so they don't know what is going on. Pullum pulls his ear, alerting him that they will be late for class if they don't start eating. All the while, Lieselot has been observing their interactions and quietly leaves after finishing her tea. She has already rejected Leon as a roommate in the past because of her brother's actions. The students later gather for their class and are introduced to Marquez, the instructor in charge of practice for the first years. With his high energy, he proclaims to the students that they are doing a joint fly gear class for both knights and squires. He gives some background information about how he's going to train their bodies thoroughly in preparation against all danger, and not just the magicite beasts, but his shouting startles the students a bit. The instructor orders them to run to the fly gear dock, which causes his pupils to let out a collective screech at his request. He doesn't wait to hear their complaints and takes off with speed before telling them not to dawdle. Lottie notices that he's running so fast that they are going to lose sight of him. The students immediately begin to run, but Rafinha is unsure of the location of the fly gear dock. Leone informs her that she did a tour the previous day, and the distance is far from where they are. Meanwhile, Inglis watches on as the rest get a head start. She tries to see the positives in this kind of activity, but finds simply running around too easy. The girl decides to try the gravity technique that the principal used on them the previous day on herself to make things more challenging. She turns the ether into mana before attempting the technique on herself. It works, as her feet sink into the ground because of the added weight. She finally begins her run and dashes towards the goal. Even with the gravity, she still moves with abnormal speed and feels like she can make it heavier as she improves. The girl jets past her new friends who are surprised to see this. Up ahead, Leone comments on how Inglis is behind, but Rafinha tells her not to worry about that. Before she can finish her statement, Inglis quickly overtakes them. Shortly after, Lieselot also runs past them, but Rafinha doesn't want to lose to her, so she prompts Leone to pick up the pace. Lottie comes screaming past and overtakes all of them as he tries to catch up to the number 1 squire. Meanwhile, the instructor is ahead laughing to himself while advising his students to take it easy because he never expected any of them to keep up with him anyway. He's dumbfounded when Inglis jets past him. She even slows down to ask permission to go first, which he gives. But before she goes, he asks for her name. Lottie screams and interrupts them as he catches up. The teacher is happy to see so many high-performing students in the first year as he looks over to see that the other girls are also getting closer. Inglis casually picks up the pace, which surprises everyone. Lottie knows that if he tries to keep up with her, he might die, so he relaxes. All the students later arrive at the dock and are impressed with the sight of high-tech fly gears. Lieselot expects nothing less from the Royal Academy. Marquez instructs the students to get into groups of 2 or 3 before boarding. Inglis is riding because Squire often pilots them. Leone and Rafinha sit in the back as they lift off. The girl gets the hand of it very quickly and begins to pick up the pace, which worries Leone. But the Squire explains that they need to get used to riding like this for when they are in combat situations. A shadow suddenly cast over them as Lottie goes past them. It seems like when it comes to riding the fly gears, he is more talented than Inglis. This brings out her competitive spirit as she uses her power to boost them ahead. While they compete, Lieselot silently watches them again. During the other classes, she also takes glances at Leone. Later that evening, the students are gathered after class by Principal Miriella. She announces them that she is going to give a special recommendation test. The head informs them that anyone's name that is called should step forward. She calls Rafinha, Lieselot, Leone, and Poulam. She makes it known to them that they are the recommended students for the night course. Inglis is the only one recommended for the Squire course. Excitement starts to spread through the other students as they discuss if this is the rumored test for those that the Academy has high expectations for. Miriella explains that the test is a simple one. She will be sending them to a different dimension created by her artifact, and all they have to do is make it back before the time limit. If they can do that, then they pass. The test is called the labyrinth of ordeals. Both their physical strength and mental fortitude will be tested. She alerts them that depending on what happens and some other factors, they may have a hard time in there. The principal knocks her staff on the floor, causing some doors to appear. She instructs them to choose and enter any door they like. Beyond it, an ordeal appropriate to each of them awaits. So, the friends give each other words of encouragement before they enter. Inglis steps in and finds herself in a dark space with red accent lights. A magicite beast suddenly appears in front of her and then disappears. She turns around to find herself surrounded by all the opponents she has faced so far. She gets excited because taking them all at once is perfect training for her, but they all disappear again when she rushes to attack them. Moments from her childhood start to get presented to her as she proceeds forward. She is surprised when her memories from her previous life as king start to show. Her successor Randall appears before her and begins to attack, but she easily dodges and grabs his blade with her fingers. Inglis worries that if she keeps going, the goddess Alistia will emerge, so she ends the fight and knocks Randall away. Instead of proceeding forward, she decides to go up and blast through her space, but the shot creates holes through multiple layers. Lieselotta's head pops up from above as she wonders what the commotion was. Inglis notes that the dimensions are connected, but Lieselot is more impressed that she can destroy this mysterious dimension. Inglis jumps up through to her space as she states that she's simply Rafinha's squire. Lieselot says that if that is the case, then she should advise her master not to hate her classmates because she didn't intend for her to be an enemy. Inglis informs her that she doesn't think Rafinha hates her, but Lieselot is adamant that that is the case since she avoids her and doesn't even make eye contact with her. Inglis thinks that Rafinha is only mad at her for her open discrimination against Leone for something she's not guilty of. Lieselot reveals that she's the daughter of the chancellor of the county, so she can't be too trusting. But she does regret the way she treated Leone and thinks that she took it too far. Inglis promises to mention her repentance to Rafinha, but at the moment getting out of this dimension safely is their main priority. Lieselotta reveals that she keeps seeing unfortunate memories and she's getting tired of it. Inglis seconds that and explains that it was the main reason why she decided to force an exit. She asks the Chancellor's daughter to tag along, then she takes her on the offer. Before they set off, Lieselotta activates her rune, causing wings to sprout from her back. She gives Inglis a lift as they move to the next level. The two arrive to meet Leone struggling with her past. Her younger self protects her older brother as she prepares to attack him for his future betrayal. Her mother and father appear sword in hand, ready to defend the pride of the family. From her wounds, it is deduced that her mana is drained. She must have fought some fierce battles to get to her current point. Leone stands with full conviction that she will defeat her family and move forward. Inglis intends to stay back to help Leone face her past. She informs Lieselot to go ahead. Meanwhile, Leone's mother and father dash forward to attack her. She stands ready but drops her sword and closes her eyes because she can't point her sword at them. Inglis apologizes for intruding and takes out her dad. Just before he can land his blow, Leone calls her crazy when she finds out that she broke the wall between the dimensions, which goes against the point of the test. Lieselotte comes in and takes out the other family members, which gets Leonie shocked as she wonders why someone like her would help. The Chancellor's daughter explains that she thought that they would have found it difficult to attack them, so thought it would be best if she did it. Leonie thanks her for the help, but Lieselotte begins apologizing for the way she treated her the other day. Inglis is a little surprised that Lieselotte is such a nice person. She offers her hand, willing to take them all to the top floor. They emerge outside to their classmates' cheers and applause, but the principal is shocked that the three of them came out from the same door. Inglis tells her that nothing unusual happened, which is far from the truth, but Miriella overlooks it since they all made it out on time and gives them the pass. It is revealed that Pullum didn't pass as she sits in the fetal position, crying. Their attention is drawn towards one of the doors as it opens, and Rafinha comes out with just moments to spare, so she passes the test too. She complains about how tiring the whole ordeal was and how she is going to eat a lot before getting some sleep. Lieselotte interrupts their conversation and offers to accept Leon as her roommate. That night, they help her pack back into the room. Rafinha is a little worried, but Inglis doesn't think the Chancellor's daughter is a good person at heart. She opens the door and alerts them that she heard their gossiping. She welcomes Leon to their room and jokingly locks the other two out. They find her sense of humor refreshing and comment on how well arranged the room is. To celebrate their friendship, Rafinha brought games while Inglis brought food for the girls to eat and play the night away. Inglis, Rafinha, Leon, and Lieselotte are all gathered at Principal Miriella's office to receive information of a party they're invited to for the inauguration of the new Highlander ambassador. The girls decide to go shopping for dresses for the party, but they are interrupted when magicite beasts show up. As the group show up to where the beasts were spotted, they come to find that Eris and Ripple have already dealt with them. Lady Dog-Ears is looking a little worse for wear, but insists that she's fine and hands the girls the money from Raphael to buy the dresses. They arrive at the party and meet Raphael outside of the venue. Everyone heads inside after greeting one another, with the prior hero king and her childhood friend both hungry as their stomachs grumble. Before they can tuck into the food, more magicite beasts show up unannounced. Mr. Bullcut steps in and slashes one in a blink of an eye. He decides to leave the monsters indoors to the girls and heads over to help Prince Wayne and Ambassador Theodore. They all pummel the beasts and head over to Ripple to check on her. She's knocked out with a strange field covering her. They suspect that this ominous energy summoned the beasts, seeing as they came right as she lost consciousness. Theodore suspects that this happened due to interference from the Altar faction, planting measures within Ripple as a hieral menace to destroy the lower land from within. Ponytail Guy recognizes Rafinha and Inglis as the two that saved his sister Cyrene. Out on the balcony, they discuss further, Theodore saying that he heard Cyrene was transformed into a magicite beast. She reveals herself, and he wishes to take her to try and find some kind of cure, but she seems adamant about staying with Inglis and Wrath. Ponytail Guy is okay with leaving her in their care for now. Back indoors, Ripple is awake again, and everyone discusses what the best course of action to take is considering her current situation. Battle Freak Inglis suggests they let her stay at the Knights Academy to allow more people to guard her and minimize public damage. This would also come with the benefit of them being near the principal's laboratory. The first, second, and third-year students congregate at the academy at Miriella's request for her to explain the situation to them, and that they'll be taking turns in guarding Dog-Ear Girl. Things get a little heated when Silva starts showing his elitism by talking down towards the first years. Ripple apologizes to everyone before collapsing to the ground. Soon after, a few magicite beasts appear, and a battle ensues. Silva starts getting mad since people other than the third years assigned to Ripple are fighting, but the principal ends up ordering everyone to fight anyway. Yua begins off reluctant, but ends up jumping into the conflict, even surprising Inglis with her speed and strength. All the beasts are dealt with, and later on, Inglis and her friends are assigned to Ripple. Things are pretty lax with the girls taking turns losing to Chris and Chess. Dog-Ears Girl would rather move her body instead of using her brain, so the Battle Freak suggests that they spar, and Ripple is happy to. The old principal shows up, handing an artifact to Leon, which allows her to send nearby people to an alternate dimension. For the spar between Inglis and Ripple, Miriella wants her to test this feature. She successfully activates it, and everyone ends up in the alternate dimension. They start their sparring session, and Dog-Ear Girl is able to match Inglis's speed and dodge her flurry of punches. Ripple creates some space between them and reveals that she's a firearm user. The Battle Freak ends up winning the sparring match after some trouble. She got sent flying towards the barrier the principal set up and somehow hits it, although she didn't do anything. After further testing, they figure out that Lady Dog-Ears passively absorbs the mana from spells from someone with a Holy Knight's special class rune. Once enough mana is accumulated, she is incapacitated and magicite beasts are summoned. A giant beast comes once they return to their normal dimension. The beast charges up a heat ray attack towards the girls, but Inglis powers up and kicks it far away from the building. Conveniently, Yua was walking right under where the beast would have landed, and she splits it in half with a single chop. After some discussion about Ripple's state, Raphael and Eris show up to inform the squad that Venefic's armies have crossed the border and that Theodore's presence was requested by the prince. 2 weeks later in the principal's office, Rafinha is given a new artifact made by Theodore. It's an upgrade to her current weapon also, with the added ability of being able to heal people. The jubilation is cut short when an explosion is heard off in the distance. They head over and see a slumped giant magicite beast and fire. The students were able to subjugate it before the battle freak and the others showed up. Silva is injured pretty terribly after jumping in to protect 2 weaker students from the beast. Rafinha steps up and uses the healing gift of her new artifact to treat Silva. The burden on the user's body is pretty massive, so Chris uses her own mana to support Rafinha. They're able to fix him up well before he gets taken to the infirmary. Later on, Silva recovers to full health. He comes to see Inglis and Rafinha to thank them for saving him and to apologize to them about how he acted towards them before. They also reciprocate an apology towards him. Now on their way to the principal's office to take over for guarding dog Ear Girl, they overhear Miriella, sounding quite angry. She received a letter from the Royal Guard informing her that they will return Ripple to Highland and try to make a new Hyrule menace. The principal still intends for her to be guarded at the academy against the behest of the Royal Guard. Leon and Liselot are walking in the rain and suspect something fishy at play, considering the timing of the Royal Guard making their move while Prince Wayne is absent. A magicite beast tries to run up on them, but it gets attacked by a lightning monster. This is the power of Leon's brother's favorite artifact. They chase after it and happen upon a sanctum underground. Therein resides Leon, who is Leon's brother. Liselot is cautious though, since she senses another person there. Out from the shadows walks a red-haired lady and the Black Mask. It appears they are members of the Steel Blood Front. Leonie has a clash with her brother as Black Mask reveals that they plan to assassinate the Highlander ambassador that will be present when Ripple is handed to the Royal Guard. The Steel Blood Font peace out, so the purple-haired girl and Blondie head to the principal to tell her about what they intend to do. The team formulate a scheme to combat the Steel Blood Front, and we jump ahead 4 days later. Using maid outfits, Inglis and Rafinha will infiltrate the palace under the guise of being part-timers so the battle freak can fight the Steel Blood Front. Before the handover, Silva and the principal will let Ripple absorb their mana so they can summon and eradicate the magicite beasts, so they won't have a reason to take her back to Highland. Silva recalls when he was saved by Ripple when he was younger, as his friend and him were attacked by a beast. This led to his friend dying, and Ripple saving him. Their infiltration of the palace works, and the young ambassador is welcomed to the party, rudely speaking down to all the attendees. They're all docile and play along, but then magicite beasts attack. The battle freak is happy to jump headfirst into combat and starts beating them up. The assassin shows himself and tries to kill the ambassador, but Inglis stops him with ease. Evil then proceeds to cut his face with his mana, killing him. The ambassador is irked with the king for allowing such a thing to happen due to his incompetence and decides to cut off one of the king's arms as compensation. Ronnie and Chris are able to reattach it using her artifact, though. Yvel is not satisfied with this outcome and decides that he'll just cut off someone else's arm instead. Inglis offers her arm, but he's unable to cut it with his mana. He freaks out and starts spamming attacks at her, unable to do any damage. He reveals that the ceremony and negotiations of a new Hyrule menace were all a ruse just to draw out the Steel Blood Front to kill them all. With this turn of events, Inglis asks the king if she can strike him down, and he orders her to capture him alive. Yvel activates a barrier of annihilation magic around himself to try and kill her when she tries to attack. She gets him to focus it to one point to make it more powerful and kicks away the barrier with an attack clad with ether. She then kicks him again but accidentally sends him flying far away. They go off to fight the Steel Blood Front at the battleship. Chris tries to blow away the ship with a blast of ether, but it gets intercepted by an attack of Black Masks. He jumps down to hold her off and asks his men to continue with the initial plan. Four Eyes tells the rest of the students and principal that the Steel Blood Front have started their attack, so they start their plan on their side. We go back to the fight between Inglis and Black Mask. He creates an ether sword, a feat that not even the battle freak can do. She settles for making a weaker ice sword to buy enough time for her to close the distance between her and the masked man. Bival shows up before the leader of the Steel Blood Front, cocky and eager to fight him. Sistia shows up and turns into a weapon for Black Mask, using his ether instead of mana. Back with the students, they're clearing out the magicite beasts summoned by Ripple. They seem to be on their last legs, but Leon shows up to help them. They continue giving Lady Dog-Ears mana, and a prisoner is summoned. The haughty ambassador attacks Black Mask, assuming his spear won't make it past his barrier, but ends up getting hit. The Steelblood front leader seemingly completely erases him from existence. Things are looking rough back at the academy, with the Prisoner almost overpowering everyone, even trapping Yua within it. So Inglis and Raph head back, seeing as Black Mask and Sistia headed out. Ripple turns into her weapon form, and Four Eyes is almost overcome with the power she possesses as he wields her. But the battle freak breaks into the ward just in time to stop him from potentially making the situation worse. She rushes towards the Prisoner and deflects the heat beams directed at the city. She has to try to get Yua out from the Prisoner before she's absorbed. The rest of Chris's friends help distract the Prisoner so she can launch her final attack on it. She rips through it with an ether breaker and saves Yua. Several days later, the academy is being rebuilt. Inglis and Raph are invited to meet with the king, and he offers the battle freak the role of a commander of the Royal Guard. But she declines since she wishes to stay by Raph's side and fight on the front lines. The king still treats them to a massive feast that they enjoy thoroughly, bringing the season to an end.